Hi there, I'm Scotty,
And I'm Stevie.
and here we are for another Tea and Tarot video podcast thing from Books, Beans, and Candles here in Birmingham, Alabama. This one is, you're probably going to be seeing this one before the new year, so Happy New Year, and we hope you've had a happy solstice season so far. Our next in-person Tea and Tarot event is going to be Friday, January 3rd, 6:30, right here at the shop. And at the end of April, Mr. Christopher Penczak will be visiting the 25th, 26th, and 27th for a series of lectures and workshops. And you can find out more information about that on the shop's Instagram and Facebook
and TikTok, I think.
And the TikToks, assuming it's still around next year.
It's good until April, I think. Question? Or maybe not. I don't know. If TikTok's a thing.
And but tonight we're gonna talk about the passing of years and transitions and movements of things, because that happens for a lot of folks this time of year. And the card we're going to discuss this month is the Eight of Cups. So, you picked this card? So what was your vibe on that?
We're coming off of like Mercury retrograde and also the holidays. I don't like Christmas very much. I'm a Krampus. So this time for me always kind of has like a Eight of Cuppy vibe, between like the transition of stuff and just kind of the weird emotional reflection of it a little bit. And so now I'm going to inflict that upon everyone else.
Well, the Eight of Cups from the deck that you like to use, is this one here, and that's which deck is that?
This is the Fyodor Pavlov deck. It's a very fun one.
And we can see a very similar theme in these three cards here: the original Rider-Waite-Smith style, and the Robin Wood style. And we have an individual who is walking away from us. The Rider-Waite-Smith and the Robin Wood, that's like they're leaving those cups behind, and cups is that emotional side of things. But in yours, it's like they're stacked up along the route.
Yeah, it almost has the vibe of, whereas like with the Rider-Waite, it's like, okay, we're leaving all this behind, bye-bye. The Fyodor Pavlov takes a tone that I kind of like, where there isn't really a big release all at once. It's kind of having to take these things in steps and interact with these different elements along the way. The initial like ripping off of the Band-Aid moment of I'm going to change this thing or I'm going to leave it behind is a thing, but definitely kind of that as we go through the process a little bit.
Yeah, it does have that little more processy kind of vibe. And some authors discuss the moon here as an eclipse, and that can moving things. If it's a solar eclipse, then it's the light is being covered, whereas a lunar eclipse would be that emotional side being covered. But this is usually written of as a more of a solar eclipse, and which brings to light more the moon card, bringing things into a dimmer light.
Kind of tying it back into the major arcana in one way or the other, which is kind of fun because with the Fyodor Pavlov, the particular figure in this one has the same sort of jester vibe that the Fool card does. Like it's not a one-to-one. It does have kind of a more like jovial aspect, obviously, with the Fool card, but it almost has like this kind of transitional element of like continuing on the Fool's journey a little bit into the minor arcana that I really like. And it has a not dissimilar color scheme, even though it kind of shows up weird on this, where like there are undertones of blue in the Fool card, so it's nice kind of seeing that continue in that particular regard. And so it's a fun like artistic thing.
And that Fool is also carrying a staff, which doesn't often occur in a lot of the others.
No.
The stick with the thing, but that's more of a staff-like object, which is what we see there.
Oh, because I was like, maybe it looks like the thing that they're wearing, but not quite. But
and here in the Mucha Tarot, we have a difference in that the character, she is approaching us, the viewer, and again, she's leaving things behind, but they're not all stacked up like here. They're still staggered, so we have a transition of that So, and it's a process kind of thing, and she seems kind of thoughtful. We can see the expression on her face, like she's still reflecting and reminiscing
Right.
on those emotional things, whatever those are for her. And of course, the Wildwood Tarot doesn't do anything like anybody else, but we still have the 8 vessels, of course, and they call this rebirth, which has that sort of transition kind of vibe. But we see here that it's along a path, if we think of the stream itself as the path. And so that's that flowing of the waters and sort of a rebirth of those things during that process. But in general, for me, the 8 of Cups is a lot of times about what do I need to leave behind, what doesn't serve me anymore. And sometimes it's bittersweet. It's not necessarily because sometimes it's time to move on.
Right. Especially like looking at it kind of in conjunction with like the 9 of Cups that comes afterwards of, we all kind of have like our emotional baggage, our emotional just kind of weightiness that we have to deal with. And then it's kind of that sense of sorting through it, running through it. And then that 9 of Cups is like, yay, you did it. Now we're going to hang out and drink and vibe a little bit.
So there's our 8 of Cups. And in talking about transitions, we're going to discuss a spread. I'm calling it the Janus spread, or the Janus spread, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I usually say Janus. We're going to use the Robin Hood deck today. And Janus was the Roman god not only of doorways and passages and endings and beginnings, but transitions as well.
Yes. There's a very liminal aspect to him.
Yeah, and so in this spread, you can expand it however you like, doing different tiers, different layers. We're just going to do it as a 3-card spread, and it's going to discuss the things that are behind us and the things that are ahead of us and the transition that happens at that point in between. Because we think of beginnings and endings, but there's all that stuff in the middle.
Right.
So we'll throw down some cards. Let's see what's going to happen. So the first one is going to be our transition card. And there's what's behind us. Oh, joy. And what's ahead of us. Ah, awesome. And when you're working with a spread and you've got one that is intended to show up, if you read reversals, you can read it either way. What I tend to do is when I look at this one here with the top of the card pointing to my left, I think of that as a reversal.
I'm the opposite. This is it's read upright for me because I read from the right, I guess. I'm right-handed, so like bottom top as opposed to the other way around.
So and it doesn't matter which one of those ways you do it, as long as you're internally consistent or it makes sense to you at the time. Also with reversals, because by my reading, and this would be all reversals, which is yay. But sometimes I don't read a reversed card as reversed if it's giving me a directionality.
Sure.
But for this one, we'll do all of these as reversed. So we have a reversed 9 of Pence behind us. The 9 of Pence normally is a completion in that material world, comfortable kind of thing. Well, with that 9 reversed, it can almost feel like ain't nothing growing in the garden.
Yeah.
You know, that there's a sense of lack in there.
The unending rat race kind of vibe a little bit.
And as a thing behind, that especially if it's that rat race vibe, can really lead to some senses of exhaustion. So if we think of this as what's behind us is, man, I'm wore out.
I'm tired. I'm tired of this, Grandpa. Like that constant feeling of just not being able to slow down and relax and have that kind of expansiveness that sometimes is kind of wrapped up in the pentacles as a whole.
Mm-hmm. And with our 4 of Swords reversed, I see the 4 of Swords a lot of times as a card of rest, comfortable naps, contemplation, meditation. And with it being reversed, going forward is I'm getting a no rest for the wicked kind of vibe there.
You have not dropped out of the rat race.
And apparently I have not, no. And me reading this as reversed, with our Ten of Cups reversed, that transition is woe is me. Sort of an emotional emptiness in between those things.
Kind of exacerbated by kind of either a lack of support or being funny. Your family sucks, but like, because this kind of comes off as like the happy Hallmark family card sometimes.
Oh yeah.
For context,
it's almost like this is the family that comes with the frame when you buy a
very
picture.
much. So when it's reversed, it's just the support network ain't there. It's not it. If it is either absent or the people there are just not quite meeting expectations.
So looking at this in the perspective of what's behind and what's ahead, we do see the things, but some advice in that too would be looking at what's missing and going, what do I need to work on? Well, in this case, it might be perhaps, and maybe I've been a little lax on my meditative practice, and so going forward, I need to get back into that. And maybe I need to be sure I'm taking the time as I can to rest and in that transition, if it's a lack of support, then taking care of these things more heartily may provide that support from within. Mm-hmm. What's your take?
A big thing with the Nine of Pentacles too is that you get your wealth, you get your coin and your wine or whatever, but oftentimes it's a very individualistic card. You got your money, so whenever it presents reversed, it can sometimes, especially like in a context like this, be the thing of do you have to do all the work, or do you need extra hands or extra skills or whatever the case is, and being a little bit less individualistic about it, and sometimes especially. We love our pentacles, but they're very perfectionistic and they're very sort of, rigid.
Well, it's a very, very earth kind of thing. It can be great and growing and expansive, but it's also that exact
rigid and defined. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like having to kind of take that step back and vibe a little bit to be a little bit less so hands-on that no one else can aid you in this thing. So chill.
And so with this spread, again, you can add other layers. You can expand on it as you see fit, or you can blow through it like this. It's a pretty simple spread. And I think that's got us for this evening. We want to thank you. Join us on January 3rd for our next in-person Tea and Tarot, 6:30, right here at the shop. We're coming to you from Books, Beans, and Candles in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm Skaji.
And I'm Stevie.
Safe journeys.